Now, the next basic type I want you to learn is going to be the array type. So in order to understand how the array type works, let's just take a variable and assign it to an array and see what TypeScript infers the type as. So I can say const a equals, and let's do an array of 1, 2, 3. So this is just three different numbers. If I hover over this, you can see that my type has been set to number with this square brackets at the end. And that's just denoting that this is a number array, so an array of numbers. So if I wanted to manually type this, I could say that this is going to be a number array, just like that. So now if I were to move the default value, and I said that a is equal to, for example, 1, 2, 3, you can see that works fine. Also, I need to make sure I give this some type of default value, otherwise it's going to give me an error, because undefined is not a number array. Also, I should probably use let here instead, just to make sure all that's working. Now, the really nice thing about manually defining these is if I come in here with const, and I give this a value of, like, let's say 1, 2, 3, like we had before, and then I can do inside of here is I can say dot push, and I say I want to push a new value to the end of this. TypeScript is smart enough to know, okay, this is an array of numbers, so I can only add numbers to be added onto this. So I can only put numbers in here. If I were to try to put a string, you can see I'm going to get an error because I'm trying to add a string to an array of numbers. So this again is where the power of TypeScript really explodes, because by typing just one thing, and I don't even need to include the type because it's already inferred, you can see that I'm getting this awesome autocomplete and this error protection in my code. And this code is just plain JavaScript. I haven't even written any TypeScript, and I'm getting all of these awesome errors just by all of this inference. So if you want to type an array, just make sure that you're coming in here and you're doing whatever the type is, for example, a number, followed by this square bracket syntax to denote that this is specifically an array of numbers and not just a single number. Now, another thing to note is I have defined this const a as 1, 2, 3, so you may think if it's following the literal type practice that this a would be typed as an array of values 1, 2, and 3. I could manually type that out if I wanted to by just saying 1, 2, 3 like that, and now I'm saying that a must be the values of 1, 2, and 3, which means I can't push anything at all to it if I try to push another number. For example, I push the value of 4 into here, you can see that I'm getting an error because 4 is not a value of 3, 1, or 2. So the reason that I don't get this actual like explicit literal type when I define my array like this is because arrays, just like objects, they have a pass by reference as opposed to pass by value, which essentially means that I can call this push method, which actually modifies my array without actually redefining it, just like I would have to do with saying something like a equals 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do the exact same thing as this code just by calling a.push, and that doesn't actually redefine the const variable. So the fact that this uses references instead of values, and the fact you can modify a without actually redefining it, TypeScript says that this knows that it's a number array and not explicitly the values of 1, 2, and 3, which is really great because if it assumed the values were 1, 2, and 3, it would almost always be wrong since you're always pushing and removing elements from arrays. And the great thing is this works with all the different types you could possibly think of. For example, if we had an array of strings, you can see I get a string array here and so on. So all your different primitive types, and you can combine this together. For example, if I were to put dates inside of here, or if I just say this is a new date, you can now see I have an array of dates. So specifically, I could say that this is a date array just like that, and that's going to work fine. Now in this case, a date is essentially an object type inside a TypeScript, and we're going to be covering that in a little bit, so it's not super important to know, but just know that you can use things that aren't primitives all over the place. So everywhere you could normally use a primitive, you can use other things like dates and so on.